Good day and dangal greetings everyone. I am Morris Samuel P. and on behalf of our group, welcome to our midterm project presentation for object-oriented programming. Our project is called the Smartphone Simulator and it is written entirely in Java of course. You can see on the screen right now the very beginning of our program. This is our main class. This is the entry point. The public static void main method on the screen is the first thing Java runs when our program starts. So before we go into the details, let me set the stage for what this program does and how it is structured. So everything that follows will be easier for you to understand. So the goal of our smartphone simulator is to model how a real smartphone behaves during the day, not the actual electronic circuits, but the behavior ng ating phone. So think about your own phone right now. When you turn it on in the early morning, your phone boots up. It shows a welcome message and tells you the battery level. When you open the messaging app, it loads your inbox. When you take a photo, the camera hardware activates and saves the image. When you browse the internet, the phone checks if you have a connection before loading the page. So every single one of those everyday action is simulated in our program using Java objects that communicates with each other. So our program lets a simulated user interact with the phone through a text-based menu. The user can power the phone on and off. It can also connect to the Wi-Fi or mobile data. Can also install 4 different apps. Open each app and use its features. Check the phone status at any time and also exit. Every single action drains the battery. Just like a real phone, every action is blocked if the phone is powered off. Everything is coordinated. Everything has a consequences. Just like a real device. Now, let me give you the big picture of our program. So here, this is our class diagram. There you are. We also have the program flow diagram. As you can see, there are 11 classes in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And they are organized into 3 distinct rows. First role is the app family. Your app family, they're connected. These are the applications that the user can install and use. A messaging app, a music player, a web browser, and a camera. You can see them as the 4 green boxes. Green boxes. On the diagram, all 4 of them share a common foundation through one parent class called the app. This, which is the blue box at the very top center of the class diagram. This blue box is the heart of our inheritance structure that Ms. Ocariza will explain this in great detail. The second role is the smartphone class itself. This, the teal box on the left side of the class diagram. This is the main device class. It represents the phone as a whole object. It manages the power, network connections, app installation, and app launching. Everything the user does flows through the smartphone class. So you can think this as the operating system of our simulation. And Mr. Laza will go into full detail on this one. Lastly, the third component classes. The 4 oranges boxes at the bottom of the class diagram. We have here the battery class, camera class, network module, and app manager. These are the internal hardware and system parts of the phone. The smartphone owns all of them. They are created inside the smartphone and managed by it. The solid orange arrows with filled diamonds shapes at the smartphone and represent this ownership. We call this aggregation in OOP. So reporters Miss Evardone and Mr. Lagunzad will explain each component in detail. And finally, in the top left of the class diagram, you will see the main class in purple. This is the controller. It reads what the user types and calls the right methods on the smartphone. It is the bridge between the user and all our objects. So in summary, we have here 11 classes, 3 roles, 2 diagrams, the class diagram, and the flow diagram to help you visualize it. Now let me pass it to Miss Ocariza, who will start our class-by-class explanation by opening with the most foundational class in our program, the abstract app class, and explaining how inheritance work.
Thank you, Mr. Moro, and I am Lizelle Ocariza, and I will be explaining the app class and inheritance. So, here, I want you to look at the first line on screen. So, public abstract class app. I want you to focus to the word abstract. So, that one keyword changes everything about how this class works. So, abstract means you cannot say new app in our program. Why? So you cannot create an app object directly. The app class exists purely to be a parent. So here, a shared foundation that our app subclasses are built on top of. So, in a good way to think about it, app is like a template. It says that every app in our program must have a name, a version, and a running state. Here, as you can see in this syntax, and must also have able to open and close. It does not fill in all details itself because that is left to be a specific classes like messaging app or a music app. So as you can see, app has three private fields. So you can see here in our syntax, first is name. So name is called like a messages or browser. It is a string that holding what the app is called. This name is actually used by a smartphone when it searches for an app by name to open it. So the second one is version. So version is a string like 3.2 that gets printed on the opening message whenever the app launches. And the last is, or the third one is running. It is a boolean that starts as false. So we know boolean has false or true because every app begins in a closed state. It becomes true when you open the app and goes back to the false when you close it. So these all three are marked as private. That is the minus sign on this diagram, as you can see in our diagram. So no other class can directly read or change them. So you have to go through the public getter method. So we know that we use a get name, we can use a get name, get version, and is running. So we know that those getters are encapsulations. The data is hidden and you can access it through control door. You will notice the same pattern in every single class. Now let's talk about methods. First is the open. The open method does two things. First, it sets is running to true, and which means the app is now running. Then it prints a message like messages opening app version 3.2 using the app's name and version. So every subclass calls super.open first. So the basic version of the app class runs before anything else. And after that, each subclass adds its own extra message. For example, here, when messaging app opens, you first see the normal opening line from the app, and then right after that, it shows messages. Loading inbox with two messages. So with one method call, you can get two lines of output. See? Next is the close. Close method is the opposite. It sets as is running back to the false and prints a closing message. The important thing here is that close is not changed or overridden by any subclass. All apps close the same way, so instead of writing the same code again and again, we just wrote it once in app class. And all four subclasses use it. That's the advantage of having a parent class. It saves time and avoids repeating code. And now this is inheritance. The word extends in Java is literally how you declare it. So we use the word extend. We all know that when we use extend, we have a child subclasses. So the moment you write public class messaging app extends app, messaging app automatically gets name, version, is running, open, close, get name, get version, and is running without writing a single line of any of that inside messaging app itself. It just inherits it all. Now, imagine if we didn't have an inheritance. We would have to write those three fields and five methods inside all four app classes separately. So that is the same code copy paste four times across four files. So if we ever needed to change something, say format of the opening message, we would have to find and update in four different places. So in inheritance, we change it all once in app, and all four apps are updated instantly. So each subclass can still add its own unique behavior, and they do. They call super.open to keep the shared part and add their own lines. So shared base, unique details. That is the inheritance in practice. I will now pass it to Mr. Boko who will show us exactly what messaging app and music app add on top.
Thank you, Ms. Ocarisa. I am Boko Mark Nathan, and I will be explaining messaging app and music app. Let us start with messaging app. Because it extends app, it already has the name, version, and is running fields. All inherited, no need to write them again. The only thing messaging app adds on is one new private field, inbox. That is an array list of strings, and it is where received messages get stored. It starts empty every time the app is created. Look at the constructor. The first line is super messages 3.2. That is calling app's constructor. It sets the inherited name to messages and version to 3.2 in one line. Neat, right? Then inbox is initialized as an empty list. Now the overridden open method. It calls super.open method first, which runs app's versions set is running to true and prints the opening message. Then right after, messaging app prints its own line showing how many messages are in the inbox. So when you open this app in our program, you will see two separate lines in the console, one from app, one from messaging app. Same method call, two different sources. Send message method takes a contact name and message text, prints who it is going to, and confirms delivery. Nothing is stored on the sending side. Sending is a one-way action in our simulation. Receive message method is more interesting. It takes the sender name and text, formats it as from sender text, and actually adds it to the inbox list. So the inbox generally grows every time this is called. If you open the app, receive two messages, and close it, then open it again, the open message will now say 2 messages instead of 0. The inbox state persists as long as the app object exists. And because inbox is private, the only way to know how messages are in there is through getInboxCount method, which just returns inbox.size. Next is the music app. Music app adds two new private fields. First, playlist, an array list of strings that comes preloaded with three tracks in the constructor. Morning vibes, lo-fi study, and evening chill. They are always there from the moment the app is created, so you can play them right away after installing. No setup required. Second, now playing. A string that tracks what is currently playing. It starts as null, meaning nothing is playing. When you play a track, now playing gets updated to that track's name. When you stop, it goes back to null. The play method is where it gets interesting. Before actually playing anything, it runs two checks. First, is the app even open? It calls isRunning method, which we inherited from app, and if it returns false, it prints an error and stops. You cannot play music in a closed app. Second, is the track even valid? Java lists are zero-based, so menu option 1 sends index 0, option 2 sends index 1, option 3 sends index 2. If the index is out of range, it stops before crashing. If both checks pass, it grabs the track name from the playlist, sets now playing, and prints the now playing message with a musical note. Stop method is simpler. It just checks if something is playing, and if so, clears now playing and prints that it stopped. I will now pass it to Mr. Larce, who will take us through browser app and camera app and show us a different kind of OOP relationship.
Thank you, Mr. Boko. I am Narce Anthony and I will explain browser app and camera app. These two are special because they show us association. And if you look at the diagram, association is represented by a dashed arrow, not a solid one. So, what is association? It is when one object uses another object to get something done, but it does not own it. It borrows it. The dash arrow from the browser app to the network module on the diagram means browser app uses network module, but network module does not live inside browser app. It comes from somewhere else. Browser app inherits everything from app and adds one field, history, a list that saves every URL the user visits during the session. The important part in this visit method that it has two parameters, a URL string and a network module object. The network module parameter is the key. Browser app does not create network module anywhere. There is no new network module inside browser app. Instead, main gets it from the smartphone using phone.getNetwork and passes it into the visit. Browser app borrows it just for that one call inside visit. First, it asks the network module, are you connected? If network connected returns false, browser immediately prints no internet connection and returns the page never loads, and nothing gets added to history. If phone is connected, it saves the URL to history, prints which connection type is being used using network.getConnection, and prints the loading and success message. The camera app follows the exact same pattern. It inherits everything from app and adds one field, photos taken, starting at 0, and its open adds viewfinder active.smile. After super.open runs, the takePhoto method receives a camera hardware object as a parameter. Again, camera app does not create camera. The main gets it from smartphone using phone.getCamera and passes it in association. Inside takePhoto, it prints a request message, then calls camera module.capture. That is camera hardware class doing actual photo work, printing the megapixel and flash status. The photos taken goes up by 1, and the photos number is printed. Camera app is not doing capturing itself. This organizes the action and delegates the real work to the hardware. Here is a quick way to remember the difference between two relationships we have covered so far. Aggregation is born together. Smartphone creates battery and camera in its constructor and they live inside it. Association is borrowed temporarily. Browser app and camera app receive network module and camera as parameters for one method call. One is ownership, one is just usage. I will now pass to Mr. Laza, who will explain smartphone class, the class that sits the center of all of this.
Thank you, Mr. Rasa. I'm Jeremiah Lassa and I will be explaining the smartphone class and the topic of association. Now, as you can see from this diagram, we have a 7 fields. We have a model, owner, is own, and a 4 components, battery, camera, network, and app manager. Now, those 4 components have their own classes. And these lines tells us that this is a composition from this diamond. Now, a composition is different from aggregation. A composition meaning it's a strong ownership as as opposed to aggregation. An aggregation have a weak ownership, meaning a composition manages its own components, in this case these four, but an aggregation doesn't manage these four components, meaning they have their own life cycles. So that's pretty much the main difference between the two. And let's understand why. So let's look at the code. For this code, we have a smartphone class, and this is the basic information for the phone. We have the four components, and here from the constructor. Now this constructor takes two parameters. We have a model and an owner. But the components are being created inside the constructor, meaning as soon as we created the smartphone, these 4 components are also created too. So their life cycles are inside the smartphone. If the smartphone dies, so this will fall too. So that tells us that this is a composition. The smartphone manages the 4 components, their life cycle. They will be, they will only be an aggregation if these four are being passed as a parameters. If they are being passed, meaning they have their own life cycle, they are independent to the smartphone. But in our case, it is not. Since they live inside the smartphone manages their life cycle, and that means it is a composition. So that's pretty much for the idea of a composition versus an aggregation. Now this class have several methods. We have a power on that checks if the smartphone is on. Also for the smartphone, for the power up, same idea. We have a install app. As you can see, we take the base class, the abstract class, which is an app, and then we install that app. So how does that work? This is called a polymorphic call, meaning it will work since a Spotify is an extension of a application class, the app class. So it will work in a sense that because since it is a child of the same class, it will work in the app manager that takes an app class. So in a nutshell, every children of this app class is valid to install. So that's the power of polymorphical or the polymorphism. Now same idea in the open application. We take a string argument, string parameters app name, then the app manager calls the get app, then the app will get called, and then will be passed here, then it will launch. It will open here, and we also drain the battery by the amount of 3. And also we have a connect Wi-Fi that takes a SSID as its parameter. We check if it's require power, then We simply print connecting to Wi-Fi, then we drain the amount. Same idea for the mobile data. And lastly, we have a status report for the fields of this class, such as device and the components. And it also lists the all apps installed, and that's pretty much it. And we also have several letters for this class. And this is the helper class require power that being called over and over again. It only checks if the smartphone is on. Nothing, nothing more, nothing less. So that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Laza. I am Evardone and I will explain battery and camera. The two components that handle power and photos, battery is one of the most active classes in the whole program because it gets called every time the smartphone does something. It has three private fields level for the current percentage capacity for maximum always 100 and is charging. When battery is created with battery 100 level, it starts at 100 fully charged. The train method is where the smart logic is look at this line. Level equals mat.max 0 level minus amount. What mat.max doesn't return the bigger of two values. So if level is 3 and try to drain 10, mat.max 0 3 minus 10 equals mat.max 0 negative 7 equals 0. The level can go negative. After drain, if the level is at or below 20%, a low battery warning prints automatically. Drain is called at every action 2% for booting, 1% for installing an app, 3% for opening an app, 1% for Wi-Fi, 2% for mobile data.
Greetings, sir, and thank you, Miss Everdon. I am Bormas and I will explain the network module and app manager. So, this is the network module, this is our diagram, that are connected to browser app, which is the history. Then, this is our code for network module. Network module manages the phone's internet connection. It has two private fields that's Boolean connected and then the connection type, which starts as first the phone has no internet when it first powers on, and when it and connection type, which starts as none, and the user has to manually connect by choosing Wi-Fi or mobile data from the menu. And then the connect Wi-Fi takes the network name, the SSID, the SSID, and sets connected to true and connection type to Wi-Fi. Get connection type to Wi-Fi. And then connect mobile data does the same but does not need a name. Both print a confirmation message if the user leaves the Wi-Fi name blank. Main automatically uses home network underscore 5G as a default. Then the most important is the getter is the connected. It is just the returns the connected boolean. And this is exactly what browser app calls before it tries to load any page. Is if it's connected false, the page does not load. Get connection type, then return by, then by browser app when printing which type of connection it is using. And the next one is the app manager. So this is our app manager diagram. And this is connected to smartphone. And then the code of our app manager. App manager is the phone's app library. It stores every installed app and retrieves them when the smartphone needs to open one. It has one private field, installed apps on the list. Now, this is where polyphonism shows itself most clearly. The list is declared as this, typed to the parent class app, not any sub, not to any specific subclass. That means this single list can hold a messaging app, music app, and a browser app, and also the camera app. So, at the same time, because all for them are subtypes of app, one list, one list for different types. That is polyphonism data. To install adds any app subclass to the list and prints a confirmation using app.getName and get.version, both inherited methods from app. So they work on any subclasses without needing to know the specific subspecific type. Then get a parenthesis loops through the list using equal ignore case. So the search is not case sensitive and returns the first match if nothing matches. It returns null and smartphones then tells the user that the app is not on the listed. And when a smartphone calls app.open on the object, the returns that is when polymorphism show itself in the behavior too. Java looks at the actual type of the object at the moment, not the variable type, but the real object. And once the correct version of open parentheses. If it is a messaging apps open once the automatic selection at runtime is called dynamic dispatch. So, and it is the mechanism behind the polyphonism in Java. Then the next is the Mr. Lagnisad, which will walk through the main class and the enter program of flow using the flow diagram. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grimas. Hello, my name is Raghansat Karil and I will explain the main class and trace the full program flow step by step. Each column here is a different object. The arrows between these columns are method calls, one object calling on method on another. Main is not an app and it's not a component, but rather, main is the entry point and controller of everything. The public static void here is literally the first thing Java runs. You can see the structure on the screen. It has two pieces, which is the print banner method. It shows the welcome title, and then secondly the setup phone method, where it asks the user to configure the device. After that, the while running loop takes over and never stops until the user types or selected 0. Every number the user types get routed by the switch statement to specific private handler method. Each handler is a submenu for that feature. Case Case 0 here set running to false, which makes the loop exits and the scanner close and the program ends cleanly. The arrow syntax case 100 handle power method is a modern Java 14 feature called switch expressions, which is more concise than the older switch statement style. The setup phone method, where the program asks the user for device model and the owner name. Both get trimmed off white space, and if either is left blank, a sensible default is user, so the program never runs with empty string. The phone equals new smartphone with the parameter of model and owner. It creates the phone with those real values. And as we saw from Mr. Lasse's explanation, that one line triggers the creation of all 4 components inside the smartphone constructor. One action, 5 objects created. That is the cascade you see in the second row of the flow diagram. 3 lanes lighting up from the one user input. Now let's proceed to the power and network. Option 1 calls point.powerOn method, where is on becomes true, and battery.drain to method is called. These 3 objects, main calls the smartphone, and the smartphone calls the battery. That 3 lane is exactly what you see in the flow diagram. For network, the Wi-Fi reads the SSID from the user and passes it down to the smartphone, and the smartphone passes it down to the network module. And if you skip connecting before browsing, the browser app class will immediately say no internet connection. Now we're here at the installation and opening the app. When the user installs an app, main creates a new object, which is the new messaging app method, and immediately passes it to the phone.install app method. Smartphone passes it to the app manager. App manager adds it to the list, and it drains 1% of the battery. That's 4 lanes in just one action. When the user opens an app, it calls the open app method and asks app manager to find it, runs app open that method. The polymorphic call drains 3% and returns the app object back in main. That object is cast to the specific subclass, so we can call subclass specific methods. The cast is necessary because open app method returns type app, parent type, send message method, or take photo only exists in the specific subclasses. However, for the camera specifically though, the main gets the camera hardware separately using phone get camera method and passes it to the take photo. That is association happening live in the flow. The hardware is borrowed from the smartphone and passes it directly into the app method. One last thing worth highlighting is the read-in. This method is used every single time main needs a number from the user. It runs in a while through loop, tries to parse the input as an integer, and if it fails, like for instances the user input ABC or anything other than what was asked, this will catch it by using the number format exception and prints a friendly error message, so the user is aware of what's the error and politely asks to input again. I will now pass it to Ms. Marasa, who will close our presentation by bringing all the 5 concepts together in one final summary.
I'm Desiree Morasa, and I'll wrap up our discussion by going over each object-oriented programming ideas such as inheritance, encapsulation, aggregation, association, and the polymorphism one last time and pointing out where it appears in the diagrams and the code. So for our inheritance, looking at this diagram, you will see below this hollow triangle arrows pointing up to the app class. And remember that this hollow triangle is the standard UML symbol for the inheritance. And it's telling us that these 4 classes, the messaging app, music app, browser app, and the camera app, are all connected to and inherit from the app class. Now let's look at the code and see how that works. So, dito sa code natin, dito sa app class, mapapansin nyo yung app class is naka-declared as an abstract, meaning it is basically a blueprint in which you can't run directly, but anything extends to it gets all its fields and yung methods automatically. And yung 4 classes na nabanggit ko kanina, which is yung messaging app, music app, browser app, and yung camera app, lahat sila ay gumagamit ng extends keyword para i-connect dito sa app class natin. Kung titignan natin, unahin natin yung app class, ay messaging app, meron siyang extends. Next is yung music app. Meron din siyang extends. Browser app. Meron din, and yung camera app. Meron din siyang extend na keyword. And the moment they do that, they inherit the name, the version is running, open, and as well as the close without writing any of it themselves. And ngayon, mapapansin nyo, meron tayo ditong yung open. Ano nga bang ginagawa ng open? This method basically launches the app, and yung app class itself defines a general version of it, the common startup behavior that every app needs. But each subclass overrides it. So, each subclass overrides it because a music app and yung camera app don't start up the same way. So, ano nga ba yung ginagawa ng override? The first thing na ginagawa nito is tinatawag niya yung super.open. Ang ibig sabihin nito is nirerun muna yung parents version, kumbaga kinukuha yung shared behavior ng parent na yon, and then ina-add niya whatever is unique to that specific app. So, yun yung para sa inheritance. And dako naman tayo sa next OOP idea, which is yung encapsulation. So, para naman sa encapsulation, mapapansin nyo dito, may yung bawat class natin, yung 11 class, meron siyang nakalimutan kong i-discuss, itong part na to, ito yung class name natin. Dito sa pangalawang row, yung attributes, then yung pangatlong row naman is yung mga methods natin. And sa attributes kasi, kapag minus ang sign, ibig sabihin nun, private siya. Kapag plus, ang ibig sabihin nun is public yung attributes natin. And kapag naman hashtag, it means protected. Kapag default naman, ang ginagamit nun is yung tilde. No? Since nakita nyo dito yung bawat class natin, yan, naka-minus siya, naka-minus yung sign, which means private. Yun din dito, naka-minus din yung sign nila. Sabihin yan, private, and sinasabi nun sa atin na none of these fields can be directly accessed or changed from outside the class. And para maintindihan natin ng maigi yun, punta tayo sa code natin. So, dito sa code natin, dako naman tayo sa one of the 11 classes, yung battery. So, sa battery class natin, yung field dito is, or yung attribute ay naka-private. Private attributes or fields simply means that if your in an outside of the class, you simply cannot touch it directly. And yung only way to interact with this is through the public methods. And this is the important part because those methods have logic and safety checks already built in. So take the drain for example. This one. It uses the math.max 0 level minus amount. And ang ginagawa nito is to make sure na yung battery level ay hindi bababa or never goes below 0. And that safety check only works reliably because the level is private. And if anyone could reach in and set level to whatever they want, that protection means nothing. So, sa baba nitong code natin, makikita natin na meron tayong get status. Yung get status, it simply gives us or the user a readable version of the level like 85%. No, sa mga phone kasi natin, meron tayong option sa settings kung gusto ba natin makikita yung number of percentage na meron na tayo. So, dito naman sa code natin, gumamit nga tayo ng get status para makita or malet yung user na makita yung battery percentage level like ganun nga 85% without even exposing the actual field. And altogether, the idea of the encapsulation is simple lang naman. It keeps the data private, control access through public methods, and lastly, build our safety logic inside those methods. And for the next OOP idea that we will be discussing is the aggregation. So, yun na nga, sa aggregation, makikita nyo dito yung field diamond naman. So, kanina, ang ginamit natin is yung hollow triangle, yung outline lang siya, it means walang kulay yung loob ng shape. Ibig sabihin nun, inheritance, while dito naman, kapag filled diamonds or may kulay or may laman yung shape natin, ibig sabihin naman nun ay aggregation. And yun nga sa filled diamonds, arrows pointing from smartphone to battery, camera, network module, and app manager. And in UML kasi, yung filled diamond, ibig sabihin nun ay yung ownership. And notice that the diamond is always on the smartphone side because the smartphone is the one doing the owning. And in order to know how the ownership is established, let's go to our code. So here in our code, let's go to the smartphone class. And inside the smartphone constructor, it creates all 4 components. Ito yung constructor natin, and it creates all 4 components. Ito sila. Ayan. And they are using the new keyword and stores each one as a field. Yung battery, camera, network module, app manager, all of them are brought to life to the moment na ma-create yung object na smartphone, and this is what makes it aggregation. These components are not passed in from outside, also they are not borrowed. The smartphone creates them itself and holds onto them for its entire lifetime. Kumbaga, they are born together and they stay together. So, kapag nawala yung smartphone, yung mga components na yun ay sasama sa kanya. There's no battery floating around on its own because it was never independent to begin with. So, altogether, the field diamond dun sa diagram kanina is basically saying this object owns what it's pointing to, and that is aggregation. So, the next OOP idea that we will be discussing is the association. So, ayun, para naman po sa association, makikita natin dito sa diagram natin na meron tayong, zoom ko lang po, dash arrow, ito, ayan po. Going from camera up, to camera, and from browser up to the network module. And sa UML po kasi yung dash arrows, it represents a temporary relationship, okay? Not ownership, just usage. And ngayon, para maintindihan natin kung ano yung sinasabi ko nga na temporary, ay punta naman po tayo sa code.
So, dito sa code natin, punta naman tayo sa camera app. Then, punta tayo sa method na take photo, na kung saan it receives a camera as a parameter and it calls the camera module that capture. Ibig sabihin nito, kinukuha niya lang kung ano yung kailangan niya, then after nun, aalis na siya. Then, mapapansin niyo rin yung camera dito is not stored anywhere inside the camera app. Meaning, walang field, wala lahat. Kumbaga, ang ginagawa niya lang, papasok siya dito, gagawin niya yung job niya, and then, aalis na rin. Kumbaga, yung word nga, papasok to yung word na temporary. And same thing with the browser app. Yung, sa browser app natin, yung method na visit, kumbaga, sa visits naman, it receives a network module as a parameter and it checks if it's connected and uses it just for that one call. Again, hindi ito nakastored and not owned siya. And with that, this is the key idea of the association. Yung classes these classes borrow what they need instead of owning it. And because they don't own it, they are completely independent from it. Kumbaga, may something na nagbago inside sa camera class, like how it captures the photos internally. Yung camera app naman doesn't need to change at all. It just calls the capture and then moves on. So, whenever you see the dash arrows dun sa diagram natin kanina, this temporary, temporary lang siya, mawawala din siya bigla. And, ayun nga yung association na tinatawag natin na idea ng OOP. And the next one na itackle natin is yung polymorphism.
So, yun. Para naman po sa last na OOP idea natin, which is yung polymorphism nga, dapat tayo sa program flow diagram. So, dito sa diagram natin, first, mag-start yung program sa user or sa main, then pupunta sa smartphone, sa app manager, then sa app subclass, then sa component natin, which is yung battery, camera, network. And as you will notice that the app manager is connected dun sa 4 subclasses natin. And that's simply the visual hint of what's happening here. So, kumbaga yung one manager handling the 4 different app types. So, makikita natin dito sa baba ng diagram, meron tayong open na method and nakaturo siya dito sa app.open, ginagawa niya, ito yung polymorphic call natin. So, para mas lalo pa natin maintindihan, syempre, dako ulit tayo sa code natin. So, yun, dako naman po tayo sa ating class na app manager. And dito sa class na to ay mapapansin natin na meron po tayong list app. And ang ginagawa nito is, hinohold niya po yung 4 na app types in a single list. And that's only possible because of the inheritance. And since yung messaging app natin, music app, browser app, and the camera app, gumamit po sila ng extend na keyword, meaning they can all be stored in that one list. And para naman po sa polymorphism, dito na po siya papasok. Punta po tayo sa smartphone class. Dito sa smartphone class po natin, kapag tinawag niya po yung app.open, it doesn't specify which app is opening. And kumbaga, it just calls the open. And at runtime, Java looks at the actual type of that object and automatically runs the correct version. So, if it's a music app, it runs the music app.open. And kapag ito naman ay camera app, it runs camera app.open. Kumbaga, one call for possible behaviors. And isipin na lang natin kung hindi tayo gumamit ng polymorphism. Edi kailangan pa natin ng separate if-else block for every app type. And every time someone adds a new app, kailangan natin bumalik dun. We have to go back and edit smartphone as well. Pero since we have polymorphism nga, we just create a new class that extends the app and everything else works without touching anything. So, for the closing remarks natin, babalik ulit tayo doon sa diagram. So, here in our diagram, to wrap everything up, let's look at the class diagram. I just want to say that every arrow is a real relationship in the code. And for the program flow diagram, every step here is a real method call happening at runtime. So, for our smartphone simulator, it is just a one program, but it shows all 5 ideas of object-oriented programming working at the same time. The inheritance, encapsulation, aggregation, association, and the polymorphism. Not as a separate concept, but as one system working together. That's all. Thank you.